Welcome to Grammar 3L. In this booklet, we'll be going over prepositional phrases, subject-verb agreement, and sentence diagramming. So we'll jump right into prepositional phrases, and we'll start by looking at the explanation page. At the top, we have a prepositional phrase, also known as a PP, is a phrase that starts with a preposition and ends with a noun or pronoun. Below are examples of some prepositions. So here we have a list of prepositions that will be new and introduced in this booklet. You'll see them throughout this booklet and on. And we also have at the bottom of this page a list of prepositions used previously. And of course, we have some wonderful examples in the middle, so you can see what's going on with those. Now, just a quick reminder that the prepositional phrase will never include the verb or direct object. Also, it is important that you cross out the prepositional phrase first to find the different functions of speech easily. So let's look at an example. Here we have the players shook hands over the net. Like I just said, we want to find that prepositional phrase first. So let's identify our preposition. In this sentence, our preposition is over. Now we need to find the whole phrase. So over, and the phrase will end with a noun or pronoun. So in this instance, our prepositional phrase is over the net, net being our noun that ends the phrase. Now we have much fewer words to look at, and we can identify all our other functions of speech a lot faster. So here we have a subject first. So we have players as our subject. What are the players doing? They are shaking. They shook. What did they shake? They shook hands. So that's our direct object. Notice that there will be direct objects in some of these sentences. And remember, the prepositional phrase will never, ever, ever include the direct object nor the verb. So make sure that you are getting rid of that prepositional phrase first so you're not confusing the noun at the end of the prepositional phrase with the direct object. All right, so now we're going to go straight into subject-verb agreement. This should be very much reviewed for you guys because we have been talking about this stuff directly or indirectly since Grammar 2. So let's jump right into the explanation. We have this lovely table at the front, and I'm just going to go on through this real quick. So first we have conjugations for past regular. So what we have is the same verb for all three subjects, I, mom, and they. And what you do with regular past tense verbs is you simply add ed. So cook becomes cooked. And that is our conjugation for past tense for regular verbs. Following that, we have our past tense for irregular verbs. Now, we all know irregular verbs, they all follow their own rules, and so we can't exactly say how to conjugate them, but you can see with these various subjects, I, mom, and we, that we have the same conjugation for each of those. I beat the eggs first, mom beat the eggs first, we beat the eggs first. And lastly, we have present tense, which is where it gets a little tricky. Here we can see that for I, you just use the word I cook as your conjugation. And then when you have a singular subject like mom, you add an S to the end of the verb so that you have the correct subject-verb agreement, which makes mom cooks. And then for a plural subject, you do not add the S. You simply keep it in its original form. In this instance, it would be my parents cook. Another little note is that if you have you as the subject, it will have a similar conjugation as I. So you simply need to be looking in that area to ensure you are conjugating correctly. Throughout this book, you won't really be conjugating by writing. Instead, you'll just be selecting from a series of nouns for subjects or verbs to make that subject-verb agreement. All right, and lastly, we'll go over some sentence diagramming. Similar to 3K and 3L, we're just going to review the diagramming. So I'm just going to give you a random sentence to hopefully remind you of anything you might have forgotten over the past few booklets. So here we have a sentence that is a new settlement built a town hall. We are going to start with finding the subject, which is settlement. What is the settlement doing? Building. past tense of to build is built. And what are they building? Do we have any idea? Yes, the hall. They're building a hall. And so that will be our direct object, as it is receiving the action of building. And lastly, we have a new and a town. And each of these is a set of adjectives describing our various nouns in this sentence. So now that we've identified all of our parts of speech and functions of speech, etc., we are going to create our diagram. We're going to start with our lovely long line, and we're going to separate it out into different areas. So first we're going to separate out into our whole subject and whole predicate. Then in that whole predicate, we are separating it out into verb, verb phrase, and direct object. It's very important that you notice that these two lines look different in size. Notice that the whole subject and whole predicate line is much longer. So the last thing we need to do is create little spaces for our adjectives. And now we can start filling it out. Settlement is our subject, built is our verb, hall is our direct object, and here we have our main words, and then following that we have our adjectives, a new and a town, describing their respective nouns. And that's how you're going to diagram the sentence, a new settlement built a town hall. If you have any questions over this book or any other grammar booklet, please contact the person who grades your grammar at the center.